Oh, great. Thank you. Oh, you don't have to do that. Thank you. So the good news is I'm not going to talk very long. And the better news is I want to hear from all of you. And so I'm going to leave plenty of time for questions. And also maybe we can do a little pitch roll where if you guys do have ideas and you like some of the stuff that I say and you are thinking about carving out this path as a founder, as an entrepreneur, then maybe you can pitch me and I can tell you on the spot whether I think it's something that you want to proceed with or something you want to pivot. So first, I want to thank Dr. Rinaldi for having me and Jim Sparks for, yes. I've known Dr. Rinaldi when I moved back home. It's my hometown. I went away like a lot of people do. I am a graduate of UWF, guys, so I'm telling you. Go Argos, right? I don't know if you knew that. I didn't put it in my bio. I just thought about it. It's been so long since I've been in this space, and it just brings back such great memories. So look up here and know I did it, so definitely all of you can too. So I'm just going to tell you briefly about the consumer product that I created and have launched nationally. It might just, plug in your idea for a table cover. And I know you're saying, oh, it's a table cover, big whoop. But I think you'll find the story interesting, and it definitely is a story about a disruptive category. So I put some catalogs around real quick, and if you want to take a look at it. So before I decided to kind of pivot my own professional career and put a little bit more attention on my product idea, I owned an advertising and marketing company. And so just by owning an advertising and marketing company, it did give me a dominant competitive advantage because I knew how to do things like market research, and I knew how to create a brand, and I knew how to write copy, or at least recognize great copy. And so what I want to say to all of you is that I owned a company which gave me the financial underpinning and the wherewithal to kind of explore if this product idea, in fact, did have legs. When you're in college, like all of you, or you have relationships with people through college, right now is one of the best times for you to experiment. Because you have resources available to you. You have people in marketing departments. You have people who write copy. You have very talented people around you, and so you can bribe them, with free pizza and drinks and say, hey, come over here. I want to talk to you about this idea that I have, and get some real good grounded information just by and the feeling of what it means to collaborate together. So I'm going to look at my notes so I make sure that I stick to task here, because I want to make sure that for me, figuring out if this was something that I wanted to proceed with, there's just a few rules, and I'll kind of pull them out and say, hey, this is not just me speaking. This is what other people that mentored me that I reached out to, and I'm constantly learning. You guys should be just ambitious learners. Ask everybody, read everything, just get as much information as you can to help you determine whether your idea is worth pursuing or not. So this is Table Vogue, and this is my closest and nearest competitor. So do you think my product, Table Vogue, is more expensive than this product? Would you say that it is? Because I'll tell you that my table cover has this great stitched corner lip and boxed pleat. So there's a little tab here so when it washes it won't tear up. And when Jim helped me pull the table cover out of the bag, it's a little wrinkled from being folded up, but I wouldn't be embarrassed to use it as is. I'm going to put my pretty stuff on it, or I'm going to put my fundraising materials on it. I'm going to use it for a multitude of things, maybe extra guest seating or a bar setup at my house or a party, or I'm going to use it in the community for something that's maybe a breast cancer awareness race or a walk to raise money. So I'm going to use this for a lot of different things. So I'm going to have a lot of stuff on top of it. I can throw a topper on it. But the one thing that I'm sure of is that nobody can trip on it. It's not hanging on the ground, falling off. The wind's not going to blow it off. And it doesn't need those pins and clips and adhesives to stay on. It doesn't take multiple pieces to cover this very functional but frumpy little folding table underneath, right? Because this guy gals like me would never think of asking people like you to come to my home or come to my event, and I would serve you on this. So if you learn nothing more today, it's just socially unacceptable to serve your friends and family on these plastic things, okay? They need a cover. And hopefully you'll pick Table Boat. So my house is kind of the gathering house. When my kids were younger, my son's here, by the way. Chase, stand up. And the kid next to him is like my son. So they're older now, but when he and his brother were younger, they're 4 years apart. I had a lot of kids in the house. So parents would come over, and it'd be Sunday night. I'd end up in 20 people for dinner, and I had no place to feed them. So I was constantly pulling out these folding tables and wondering why I couldn't just find a cover to go on them. And then I started doing some research, and I'm like, why can't I go to Target and buy this? And then I learned it really didn't exist. There was no full-length fitted table cover that in one piece fully transforms a folding table. There were some things like this, but even this with their kind of pretend corners and their gaucho split, I don't like this. It's kind of ugly, right? So, because the wind will take this and blow it up, so it really doesn't do anything that you need it to do. But anyway, don't want to badmouth the competition. It's fine. They're actually more expensive than we are, too. So given the choices between this design and this design, I think you would choose us. So anyways, so before the fitted cover, there was basically just a piece of cloth that just hung on the floor. And nobody even really bought them as a consumer. Universities would buy them, hospitals would buy them, businesses would buy them. So the consumer buying this fitted table cover is very much a process from things like Pinterest and mommy bloggers, and websites and social sites. It's very much a new thing. So now I have a new product, a new market category, and I'm out there telling my story, right? Trying to figure out if I should proceed. Well, this is what I'm going to tell you. I knew from asking my friends that was a great idea. We made a prototype. I'd set it up on a table like this, and I'd find anybody and everybody, and I would say, what do you think about this idea? And everyone, every time said, I'd buy it, I need it, I want it. So I kept getting this resounding, go for it. It was yes everywhere I turned, right? So that was my test. I needed to know if it was something that people like me would buy, because I'm going to be out there selling this. And I knew that people who looked like me, that sounded like me, and all kinds of versions of me would be interested in this product too. So that's what I needed. That was my mental test. It was something that I could get excited about, something that I genuinely felt passionate about, because I felt like I was bringing something useful and innovative to other people like me, right? So that was what I needed to feel good about it. What the big guys will tell you, the Mark Cubans of the world and the people who are the serial entrepreneurs, they'll tell you to ask yourself questions like this. Is it best in class? Is your idea so good that when you think about it, you're like, it's better than anything out there? I could clearly look at the market of table covers out there and pretty resoundingly say that, well, not pretty resoundingly, that's horrible language, but anyway, I could with complete certainty say that our product was better than what was out there. I could also see in the couple of the conversations that I was having with people in the hotel business, people that were going to buy it just at Bed Bath & Beyond or Target, that the product that was out there currently available was also a kind of product, types of products, that nobody liked using. So now I think I have a pretty good idea. I definitely have a better design. I can see that an entire category that's existing today is probably going to be obsolete. Like, nobody wants it. They want to move on from it. They're so excited about this, they're going to do away with that. So now it's a table cover big whoop became a $3 billion category overnight. There's $3 billion worth of table covers that are purchased annually. So my little idea and my silly little table cover is now a completely new category, a completely new type of business called fitted table covers. These guys are called drapes, cloths, and clings. Now I'm going to try to create a whole new category and only let people who used to buy drapes, cloths, and clings want to buy fitted table covers. So now I'm like, wow, I was just a girl with an idea a minute ago, and now I've got $1 billion industry at my proposal. It was sweet. Thank you. It was pretty brave, I guess. I guess looking back on it, it is kind of brave. It's really, really hard, guys. That's why when Jim said, hey, will you come speak to the kids? I was like, you betcha. Because here's what I didn't know. I didn't know how much people hated this industry. They were so disenchanted by outsourcing and cheap fabrics and buying products that disappointed them. It was very hard to be heard about something that was clearly better, right? I had no idea. And hopefully in the couple of minutes that I've been up here, you get from me that I'm not a girl that will, give up easily, right? I'm pretty tenacious. I'm pretty fearless. And I don't care about no. You can say no to me 1,000 times, and that's on you. I just think about the yes, right? So I've got all that. I am not afraid of that. But I didn't know this whole disenchantment, this whole disappointment factor associated with this industry. So now I'm getting no's. I can't get anybody's attention. I'm like, what am I going to do? And so I'm starting to tweak my message to, I got to figure out a way to pivot, right? That word that's on the little header, when to proceed and when to pivot. So I've already told you, I had this great certainty about proceeding with this idea. I knew it was a good idea, and I knew that I could make money doing it. But now I'm in a position where, is it going to just be me and a few of my friends who know it's a good idea? I mean, how am I going to take a chunk out of that $3 billion industry? How am I going to get the attention? So I decided to pivot. And rather than trying to do everything myself and to be to have every conversation, I decided to do a couple of licensing deals. So this product is a disposable version of this fabric table cover. So you don't want to create a product that competes with your own, right? That's just kind of a rule. If you create something that is, I don't know another example. Y'all can throw one out at me anyway. You wouldn't want to create a great pair of jeans and then market them for $79.99 and then create another version that's $59.99. It's too close together. It's going to eat your own market share. But if you wanted to do some pajama jeans out of really cheap material and have them for $10, then it doesn't take anything away from your good, better, best kind of scenario, right? You get that. So my fabric, people wouldn't really want to use this for crawfish boils and for, their kids' painting parties or whatever. So we were starting to get a lot of inquiries to the website about disposable. Well, I'd already, at this point, faced a pretty daunting learning curve with being able to learn the manufacturing side of the business, get a product to market, start calling on retailers. And this material was really only available out of China. And so I can tell you where Jane Birdwell's fearlessness stopped, and that was getting on a plane and going to China by myself to make this happen. So there was no way. Being in manufacturing was already felt like stepping back in time as a woman. Mostly when I think they thought I was sewing these in my garage. So there's no way I was going to China. So I went to the #1 party event because, people buy Table Vogue for one of 3 reasons, right? They're having a special occasion, probably at their home or someplace near their home. They're buying them as, college kids like you buy these all the time for apartments. They might set a TV on them. They might use them as, a sofa table, a makeshift dining table. We do them in rounds. You can see the pictures in your catalog. So a lot of people use them in second homes, in a room that's not really primarily important, maybe in your husband's desk. A lot of people will, like in a workroom, they'll throw a cover on it. So use them for affordable furniture. And the third category is a lot of small businesses use them for all those reasons I was talking about before: fundraising, showcasing products and services at trade shows, at festivals. So for those 3 categories of business, the disposable was pretty interesting to the events people. So who's the largest retailer in party supplies? Party City, right? Party City's owned by a company called Amscan, and they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So not only does Party City own more party stores than anyone, if your town doesn't have a Party City, and let's say they have, what's your name? Sydney? They have Sydney's party supplies. Party City supplies Sydney with all of her party supplies. So when I tell you that Party City owns the party world, they do. So I find a way in, which is a whole nother, you should have me back on how to get through to people, because that is a lecture on its own. It's crazy what you have to do to get attention. But in this one great, just, I don't know, collection of events, I ended up getting through and getting a meeting very quickly. They loved the product. So I'm sitting in the headquarters of Party City, and the president's sitting there. So the only guy above the president's the CEO. So I'm pretty high up the food chain, right? So I'm sitting there, and the president looks at the guy, and he says, now, why aren't we stealing this idea? Swear to God, I'm sitting right in front of them. My face, it's red right now. It was like 10 shades that color. I was like, am I on candid camera? I mean, like, is this a test? Like, what is he saying that for? And he says, what we usually do is we just see the good ideas, and then we figure out how to make them cheaper, and we sell them. And so the guy jumped in, he's like, give her a break. She's here because she has a patent. So I have a patent on this product. It's a utility patent of the way that it's sewn and designed. If I didn't have the patent, I would have never, ever, ever created this business. As good as the idea is, all I would have been doing is giving the world, these guys, a way to dump what wasn't working for them and make what I had. So Party City, now this is called table fitters. And they actually modeled it after bathroom fitters. You know how you put the whatever. Y'all don't watch TV anymore, so you probably haven't seen that commercial. But anyway, they kind of, and on the back of the package it says this is a licensed product of Table Vogue. So as a business person, I decided to do this licensing deal with them and get revenue in a category that I couldn't pull off myself. So I pivoted. I didn't want it all. I didn't feel like I could pull it off. So I went and got the biggest partner I could find. And now they own the exclusive right through the lifetime of the patent, unless they and I, unless we become unhappy with each other or they fail to perform, they will pay me a royalty throughout the lifetime of the patent, which has 16 years left on it. So it's a pretty good deal, right? So I did another licensing deal with somebody in the hospitality business, kind of the same story. They had more boots on the ground. They could call. Disney called me, asked for a meeting. I went down, had a talk with the mouse, and he said, you're going to meet with 26 of us all the time, and I knew that that wasn't something I could handle. So the licensing deal seemed to be a good idea. So that's kind of where we are today. How many of you guys participated in the Da Vinci competition? I recognized a couple of you, I thought. There was a young lady taking pictures. Where did she go? She's very tiny. Where is she? Can you come up here for a minute? I want to just talk about you for a minute. If you don't have to put your pizza down. So you know how they say that thing, like everybody's a winner, whether you won or lost or whatever? So did you win in your category or part of your third place? Well, only Nellie thinks that third place is not good. Third place was amazing, and she did one of the most incredible jobs pitching, and your partner. You guys were fearless. You were focused and fearless and passionate, and you were selling something that was way out there, too. I mean, you had to wrap your mind around it, right? You're like, they're selling dead people's plots, growing trees. And I was all in, So anyway, I just wanted to commend you and tell you that you did a spectacular job. You can stay up here. You can stay up here or go down. It doesn't matter. But anyway, the reason I brought her up is because I saw a few of you, and I had the pleasure of listening to you pitch. And the thing that I was caught in this taking with this whole conversation about pivoting or proceeding is that a lot of you mentioned that your professors, Dr. Perkins or Ranelli or anybody, was giving you comments, and you were very open to them. Because, guys, if you're getting feedback from people and you're concerned that your idea, if you're concerned about pivoting because you feel like it's saying that your product's not good enough or it's not right, that in itself is a complete failure to think that way. You just can't think about it. Now, a lot of people told me a lot of things about this. I had everybody tell me, you have to use cheap fabric. You should make it cheaper. It needs to be cheaper, Jane. It needs to be at $25. But we had done a lot of market research and knew that that wasn't where our core customer wanted to be. She would respond better to quality over price. The event that she was planning was going to involve her kids, her family, her children, her work friends. It was really, really important to her. And so we decided, based on a lot of focus groups and asking questions, did $20 really make a difference? Was $20 something to change? And every time they said no. So we stuck with our quality and our price point, kind of new territory in the table cover world, and decided not to pivot off of our original plan. So pivoting goes both ways, right? You've got to listen to the advice that you're being given and decide for yourself whether it's something you want to do, if it's something that matches your core beliefs. So we're all adults here, mostly. So I'm going to tell you a story about Viagra, right? You guys know about Viagra? This is a good example. We don't have to nod. I mean, I know you've seen it on TV. I'm not asking if you use it. That would be wrong. So in the medical industry, a lot of things, you've heard of these things called medical trials, right? So Viagra, in its early days, was actually positioned to be a cardiovascular drug. It prevented artery deterioration or something. I don't really know the details. Well, during the clinical trials, which they do specifically for patients to report back side effects, people were getting some side effects that were completely unexpected to the manufacturers of the drug. And so you can bet they pivoted because that was something that the market wanted, that was something that was necessary, and a large group of people wanted it. And so for the medical profession and pharmaceuticals, it's very, very common for people to pivot, right? So before I start asking or answering your questions and maybe getting a couple of people to pitch, if you're ready to do that, I just want to tell you a couple of things that I've learned from my personal journey and from watching lots of episodes of Shark Tank. I mean, we all watch Shark Tank, right? Yeah. Well, let me tell you, watch Shark Tank. But more importantly, watch that story called The Profit. Do you know the show called The Profit? The Profit, to me, is much more valuable than Shark Tank. Because now Shark Tank, we've kind of seen it. So the thing that Shark Tank does is it shows you, you know when I said that if I didn't have the patent, I wouldn't have gone forward? Well, maybe I would have, maybe I wouldn't. I'm pretty much, I can tell you, I wouldn't have done it. But you see people get up and they give their ideas to the world, and you can just see, you know, it's a great baby product. You can just see the people at Gerber going, thank you very much for that idea, right? Because they can get out there faster. So you have to kind of be careful who you tell your story to early on, and when you do, you know, and what you do in the planning process. And then I would tell you that to make sure, hold on. I want to read this one little list to you because I think it's really important. So, find a disruptive category if you can. So, like I found a solution to a problem that existed with table covers. Do you guys know a brand called Warby Parker with eyeglasses? Do you know that brand at all? Do you know the brand Harry's Shave Cream? Have you seen that? $1 Million Shave Club? Is that what it's called? I think it's called. I always get that wrong. Anyway, those were all examples of categories that were either owned by monopolies, two companies owned all the business, and entrepreneurs found a way to do it better, cheaper, stronger, more clever, just more connected with the consumer, with the customer groups. So I will tell you that if you are doing something that already exists, if you are creating a product that's already out there, but you know that yours is just better than anything out there. Let's just say an insulated drink cup, right? What is that, a Yeti? Okay. So if you have a better idea than Yeti does for an insulated drink cup, I will tell you with complete confidence, your road to success is going to be much harder than if you create a new category of drink cups that doesn't exist today. It's just to be something like something that already exists is a much harder road to hoe. So if you can, try to think of, one, am I solving a problem, right? Does my product or service that I'm creating solve a problem? The next question is, does it solve a problem for a lot of people? Not just people who look like you. There was a guy who had a product called Dash Cam. Do you know the guy? Tall guy, maybe a football player, long beard, in the Da Vinci competition. He's an athlete. He created a product based on a need for other athletes like him. He's a very credible storyteller because I know he knows that business. I know he was passionate about it. He was authentic about it. And so in listening to him, I was immediately taken with his product. So if you can, pick a product like this with me, that it's something that you already are passionate about, something that you're close to, right? And then please know that I am a huge fan of this new embrace of failure, right? I mean, I will tell you that in my generation and how I was raised, I can tell you that there wasn't a lot of conversations about failure and that it being okay. I was raised by a coach, and we were winners in my household. So I'm just saying, that's how I was wired. So it makes me proud to know that there is an open conversation that says, if you put yourself out there and you give it your all and you're organized and you've thought this through, but it doesn't work out, it's okay because it's a great learning experience and you will take a lot of value. But be careful. But be really, really careful because failure is a real thing and it can crush your emotions and your outlook. You can lose your money and your reputation because when your back's against the wall and you're scrapping and scraping, you may be tempted to do things that ordinarily you wouldn't do. So be careful. So while I really love this whole conversation about failure, I also know that it can scar you for a long time. And I want you guys to know that this road is very, very tough. As easy as I can make it sound in a 30-second commercial and show you my great product, getting to this place that we're at right now today has been a very long road. The other thing I want to tell you is that, you know how they say opposites attract? The thing about being in college and having a community around you is that you have access to people that are very different than you. So if you're a dreamer, partner with the rock. If you're a spender, partner with the financial conservative. If you are, get down real quick and you don't get up, then partner with somebody who has unbridled enthusiasm and who won't stop at nothing. You need that good balance in your life. None of us are awesome at everything it will take to grow a brand into a company, right? An idea and getting even a prototype of an idea is actually the easy part. So I'm saying to you, surround yourself with people who are committed with you to travel the road. On Shark Tank, when the people are real greedy and they don't want to take the shark's deals, and you're like, take the deal. I just want to have a microphone and say, take it, make it easier. It will be easier for you to do what you're doing together with people who share your passion. So with that, I just want to tell you that you have your first mentor available. If anybody ever has any questions or you get in a spot and you're like, hey, I really want to do this, or this sounds like something, just know that you can always reach out. I'm not going anywhere for a while. I'm going to be Pensacola based, and I hope you all end up here in the incubators, in programs that UWF is doing such a great job with all of this entrepreneurship stuff. But The one thing I want to ask of all of you is like a pledge to say that get a job, work for people, work for lots of different kinds of people. If you can work in the industry that you're interested in, do that. I don't care if you have the worst job in history. If you have the worst job, you should probably just go find another job. But while you have the job, if you've accepted it, even if it's low level, it is a great time for you to learn your own leadership style, to look at that manager and how they behave, to look at their systems and see how to perfect it. Having a job and doing a great job while you're in it is the most important thing that you can do right now for yourself. Guys, one day you're going to count on people your age to help you grow your brand, and you don't want somebody sitting on the phone and talking smack about the company they're working for and showing up late and not giving it 100%. So I don't care if it's the worst job you've had and you're at the lowest level. If you give it 100% every day that you come in, you will be rewarded for it. You will walk away from that experience and think back on it years later and say, wow, I really learned a lot. It might be all negative stuff. Like you might be like, I'm never going to be like that guy, or I'm never going to do that thing. That is learning. So right now, work for the man. If you want to be an entrepreneur and own your own shop one day, you have to work for other people first. So do it now while you're young so that you get that critical experience. If you can work for a franchise, something like a Chick-fil-A or a McDonald's or a Panera Bread Company or a Publix, that's even better because they tend to be better at structure and protocol and stuff that entrepreneurs sometimes say, ooh, we got to write that manual one day, or we've got to get that, kind of pulled together, and that always slips to the outside. So right now, just promise me that while you're thinking about doing something, that you will give whatever you're doing at this moment 100%. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you have, and if you don't, if anybody here has any ideas, Jim, are we good on time?
We're doing great on time.
Okay, great. So go ahead, sir. Tell me your name.
My name is Jamal Morris.
Yeah, you're beautiful.
Wow, that's the first time I ever said that to me.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, excuse me. I just have curiosity's sake. What made you interested in tablecloths and want to make to perfect that product?
So
just out of curiosity.
It was just a personal need that I had. And I will tell you that when you're thinking about proceeding with an idea, again, one of the core questions, there's several of them. There's like 5 key questions you should ask yourself. But the most important thing is what I'm doing solving a problem? And even if you want to have an accountant's service, people need their taxes done. They need help managing their money. So that is solving a problem for them. In that example, if you're going to have like a salon maybe, say you want to cut hair, you want to open a barber shop. Your job would be to figure out, because it already exists and you already have competition, what's going to make your barbershop different than anybody else. So with the table cover business, I just knew that I needed it personally, and I felt like Jim says, I've been blessed with one thing. Because I've been involved in so many projects in my advertising and marketing role, I do know a lot of people, and I've done a lot of stuff. And I always needed a table cover for those folding tables. And then the folding tables got much lighter weight. So a gal my size, or these tiny people, could carry them with one hand, and you could take them for tailgating, and you could create environments. It used to be, it took 5 men to move those heavy wooden tables. So everything was kind of, I just got really, really lucky. I've always had the ability to kind of see in the future a little bit and watch trends. But to answer your question purely, it's because I needed it. And I figured if I needed it, other people like me would need it too. And I felt like I could tell my story to women like me, who are my core customer. I get a lot of men for a variety of reasons, but my core customer looks a lot like me. I knew that I could tell a story that she would believe, and that my commitment to making her a quality product at a fair price would be something that she'd be proud of. So, yes, sir.
I was just wondering, had you lacked your background in market research, how well do you think Table Vogue would have done?
If I didn't do it, If I didn't ask the market, if I
How'd you? No, you have a background. You saying you used to
in
run.
marketing and advertising,
Right.
Right. Well, to be honest with you, because there was such a great need, it would have never come back differently. I don't believe. I mean, I think no matter who I ask, unless I just picked, and you have to be careful about this. Look, you have friends that are very negative people, right? Do you have anybody in your life that just tends to always see the glass half full, not, is that the way? Half empty, full, whatever. The person who's always kind of the Debbie Downer. Do you have those people in your life? If you're going to ask people like that, if they like your idea, make sure and balance it out with the people who are the happy people, right? You can't ask the wrong people. And you can also limit. You can poll too small a group, right? So if I would have only asked women who looked exactly like me and who made my income and who needed it for the reasons I needed it, then my market would have been much smaller. Then all of a sudden, one very smart people said, Jane, you have enough customers. Have you surveyed them recently? I was like, no. They tell me they love the product. Why do I need to survey them? They said, well, Jane, it's a fundamental rule. I mean, just proving that I know half of what there is to know about this. I mean, I know nothing. I've got so much more to learn. So I said, oh, that's a good idea. Well, I know from surveys, don't you hate the surveys that are like 50 questions? So I only asked them 3 things. And I begged them. I said, look, if you want to help somebody like me take this nationally, I just need to know 3 things from you. I asked them what they bought it for. I asked them how they found out about us, like where they saw us, to know if my marketing dollars were working. And then I asked them if they were likely to buy us again, or if they needed something that I didn't have, something like that. Well, let me tell you something. Survey results came back, I think like 100% of the people, because women, we're real easy. If you pat us on the head, we'll do what you kind of ask us to do. So I got like 100% returns on the surveys. And I'm sitting there, I will never forget this. So I think I've created a product for events. People who need to stand behind a table like this and hand out brochures, maybe extra guest seating. Remember that bar I said that everybody needs an extra one at their house or whatever? Survey results come back. People bought them for furniture as much as they bought them for events. Do you know how much bigger the furniture market is than the events business? So now my little idea about this table cover for events, now I'm in home furniture. I've created a whole new category because I surveyed my customers. It was really great advice that person gave me. And I tell them every time I see them, I was like, thanks again for that survey information. That was really good. So market research, incredibly important. You've all read Malcolm Gladwell's Tipping Point. We'll tell you all the fallacies about market research. In my previous life, I got to do some market research. And there's glass walls, and they put the people in the room and they ask them questions about product. This was for frozen pies. I'll never forget. So I'm sitting out there, and there's a personality like mine in the room, which is, I'm going to have a conversation. I'm going to have an opinion. I'm going to tell you what I think or whatever. Well, this lady got a little carried away. Well, let me tell you something. Mary got a phone call. There was a knock on the glass, and Mary was asked to step out. They said that she had a family emergency. The market research people wanted Mary out of the room because Mary was dominating and persuading everybody else's opinion about the pie. So the research was totally sullied. So you got to be careful. So if you get, immediately when I come up to you and I say, hey, I want to ask your opinion about my shoes, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, her shoes. What? Is the color that she wants me to talk about? Is it her toenails? What is it? Like, all of these things start going through your head, and so it becomes very muddy. All of the information, the data that I'm trying to get from you becomes very muddy. So be careful about market research. It's more important to do market research, like how many competitors do you have? Is your product really showcasing a competitive differentiation, right? Like, how is your product different from that on the market? So many people say, hey, Jane, I've got this great idea. And I'm like, that one already exists. There were a couple of people at the Da Vinci I thought they had fabulous ideas, but they were ideas that are already out there. And so for one of the group, I suggested a pivot, a different tactic, something that I saw uniquely just because I'm older and I've seen a lot of stuff that could make them competitively different. So again, long way around talking about your market research program. It has its pros and cons, but really focus a lot of attention on how many competitors you have in your market space. Who else? Does anybody have an idea that you're thinking about pursuing that you want? Stand up in the back. Go ahead. Oh, were you stretching? Oh.
No, I was serious,
no.
but I didn't know you was going to pick me like that.
What? Go ahead.
No, I just have some ideas for what we can do for the Argo Galley. All right, no problem. I just have some ideas about Argo Galley. We had actually a project that's in marketing research for our class, and we were just trying to figure out what can we do differently for the students to actually eat there more instead of going outside. Everybody likes Chick-fil-A, so I know guarantee if there's a Chick-fil-A in here, they will be in here. They will always go in there and eat, but they're not really satisfied with the choice they have there now. But I do have some ideas. What can I do to kind of like go out ways or some ways in the community, talk to some type of restaurants or whatever, try to get them into a bid of next year or next semester.
Were you in the competition?
I got accepted. Our group did get accepted, but none of us could attend.
Okay,
So,
because I want to tell you that you couldn't be more correct, because there were at least 4 or 5 groups in their pitching solutions to the lack of food on this campus.
right.
So not only are you right, I mean, you've already been supported by 5 other groups who say, and one of the groups, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't one of the groups like either place like first, second, or third with the kiosk where you could order and pick it up? Because not only did they want more choices and they wanted it fast,
Right.
and they wanted to pre-order on their phone, they wanted to pay for it and swipe. And I wanted to make sure that when I showed up at Subway, I got my sub and you didn't get it because I paid for it on my phone. So we had some logistics hurdles to walk through. But, this campus is a great example of a campus that's grown. Thank you for coming, by the way. Thank you. That this campus has grown so quickly, so it's going to have a few growing pains with that. And so what I see is a faculty that's very eager to embrace ideas. So what you have to find out is, who do you need to advocate for you? So if I'm on a campus like this, I'm looking for my network of influencers. So you're sitting next to the one right there who's got some pretty darn good influence right there, Dr. Perkins, right? So you raise your hand there, okay? You got Dr. Rinaldi on your right over here, so you've got 2 influencers. So if you have an idea, the first thing I would do is I would take my idea to somebody of influence, somebody on their core team, and say, if you were me, how would you pursue? Because one guy wanted to bring, it was really sweet. They were going to bring like hot dog carts and line them up someplace. It was a great idea. And so I asked the question, hey, what's been the reception to the current food providers on campus, and who do you need to get permission to bring your food carts? Because the food category is a whole different ball of wax with regulatory issues. It is like HIPAA and healthcare. I mean, when you start dealing with food, you are in a world unto its own. And so these kids, beautiful kids, just so smart, what do you mean? We're just going to bring them on the campus. And I said, no, you're not. To myself, I didn't say it out loud. I just said, oh, okay. And I was just like, that would have been a good pivot conversation that says the first thing you want to do is make sure you're not creating competition with people who already have contracts and stuff, because they're just going to throw up walls and block your ideas. So you want to go to them. And it was something, because I'm a pretty feisty broad. And in early days, because Pensacola is a small pond, in my day job with marketing and advertising, it wasn't real collegial. And collegial meaning like we didn't all team up a lot and play nice with each other. And I was kind of the only girl back then. It was a bunch of guys who were well entrenched in the marketplace. And they not only fought dirty, I mean, I think a couple of them, I still have holes in my back. So anyway, but I survived it. And looking back on that, maybe I could have been I could have taken it differently. I could have tried to unite with them more. I think with age, it kind of settles you a little bit more. So the lesson I would tell you personally is try to find a way to work with your competitors. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes they're just going to take a hardline approach. Sometimes they're just going to steal your ideas. I mean, we are living in a place, and I want to tell you all this because you're all guilty of it. You're way too reliant on technology and not seeing people face to face. I will tell you guys that the internet right now is fast and loose. It is, hey, I've got this service. All you got to do is give me your credit card. I'm only going to charge you $25 for this trial, but if you like it, I'm going to go ahead and charge it $2,500, but you're going to make so much money off the $25. Well, you give them their card, and they forgot about the $25 and then that trial period, and all of a sudden $2,500 is gone on your card, and it happens all the time. All the time. It's happened to me. So when you're starting out, try to practice on a smaller idea and try to do it in a manner where you can get in front of people face to face. Because if I know I'm going to see you in the library on Tuesday, you're going to be a little more accountable than someplace in India or in San Francisco or, someplace else. But I'm telling you guys, be very, very careful. There are a bunch of people out there right now that are only trying to do you harm and not helping. I hate to be that way, and I'm very positive, and I don't like to think that about people, but you're a very gullible generation because you trust each other so much through technology. You automatically are giving that trust to strangers, and just be aware that it might not work out well. So, anybody else? Yes, sir.
How long did it take to
create it?
Have your tape.
The pattern?
How long did it take you to create your tablecloth empire?
I love that you call it an empire, from your lips to God's ears. That's called positive affirmation. So you have to do that. I call it an empire all the time in my car because it sounds good, Well, you have to do that, and I think we are on our way. It took a while. So the easy part, I will tell you, is I knew exactly what the product needed to look like. Ollie's sister actually worked for me at the time, and we just needed to get her back to Pensacola to marry this boy. So I said, I'll give her a job just to get her back home. Ends up, she's this beautiful, just talented designer. And so the economy had collapsed in 8, 9, 10. We took a little bit longer to recover than, bigger places. And so I started thinking, you know what, advertising and marketing is going to get a little tight. I think this is the time to put some energy into this. So she helped me design it. Sewing a prototype was very quick. I think I just got regular fabric. And I think that it took really probably 2 years for all the fundamental, find a manufacturer, source the fabric. This takes commercial widths of fabric, so you just can't go to old Joann's Fabric down the road and buy it. So the good news is the economy had collapsed, so all the little textile people, God bless them, were out of business. So I got lucky, and the only person answering their phone was the largest privately held textile company in the world. And they were kind of curious about selling to the public because all they had ever been was a multi-billion-dollar wholesaler. And so they were like, hey, we like this idea. Come up and see us. So I fly up to Spartanburg, South Carolina, and pull in. And guys, this campus is like Google or IBM. I mean, it is so phenomenal. And I remember calling my staff, and I was like, this is not a mom and pop. I had no idea. I was just going to buy fabric, and these people were nice to me on the phone. I drive up, and it's called Milliken. And Milliken is the largest privately held textile company in the world. And it was an incredible experience. So they kind of set me up with one of their core manufacturers, so that went a lot faster than it would be for you if you all of a sudden said, hey, I want to start designing table covers or curtains or shower curtains or whatever it is, if you went out to try to find a textile manufacturer yourself. So my road was very easy comparably to that point. So maybe 2 years, and we got our patent in 1.5 years because I used the best patent firm in the country. If you're going to pay the money, go to the best. They don't really cost any more than doing it with somebody local or smaller. It's all kind of a stable pricing, And so, find the best. So that helped our chances. The hardest part for me personally was not understanding the time suck it would be to get people to hear my story on the phone, like for Target to say yes to us to go on their website, it would take 6 months from yes to being live on their website. When Amazon said yes, it would take 6 months. So time just eats up. It eats up. So the process of getting going, I don't think took very long. The process of scaling, finding who I wanted to play with. You know, some naughty things happened along the way for me because we were growing so fast and the popularity, like the big guys have the algorithms all figured out, guys. I mean, they're using artificial intelligence already. They can see stuff that I only dream of knowing. So they knew the popularity, so people were starting to ask us for exclusives. So this is something that's really weird. So you work so hard to get people's attention and land the deal, and then Target says, Jane, we saw you're on Amazon. And I'm like, I know, isn't that great? Great for Jane, not good for Target. They're like, our price is higher than theirs. You got to come off of Amazon. I'm like, not coming off of Amazon. So they drop you like a rock because they think you'll come back. Well, we were selling so much more on Amazon, and the margins were better. So we were like, sorry, Target, we like Amazon. So Amazon, though, again, another maybe lecture, but I'll just tell you guys this very important because it's so, so important. And it was in my notes, and I hate using notes, so I forgot. Marketing, right? So you have this great idea, and you can make it for $10. You're going to sell it to Amazon for $20. You only need to sell 100,000 of those, and you're a millionaire, right? So it's real clean. Make it for 10, sell it for 20. Your $10 profit, Amazon charges you marketing fees, damage fees, freight fees. Have you seen that commercial with the little girl, the lemonade stand? She's like, well, there's fees and fees and fees and fees. Amazon would be called the fee company. So they will give you the world's greatest margin play while you're on the phone. And you're so excited because you just have a human being listening to you excited about your product. Because remember, to this point, you've had a hard time getting people to listen to you about this table cover. So now you get one and you're like, 30. You only want 30%? Oh my gosh, yes. 22% of fees on top of that. Now it's 52% margin, and it's not really the world's best deal. So now you got to layer in that you're driving a car, it's costing you gas, you're paying some marketing money, probably somebody to host your website and stuff. So let's just say your overhead is maybe 12%, and that would be like Dr. Perkins would say, congratulations, that's a phenomenal deal. Most people's overhead's more like 20 to 25%. Now all of a sudden that's 52% plus your 12. Do you see how I'm eating away of your millions of dollars? That $1 million just got a lot harder. So what will happen to entrepreneurs, because we all share one strand of DNA, and it is called perpetual excitement. We are attracted to everything glittery and gold. We only see the upside. So we tend, remember when I told you, if you're the dreamer, partner with a rock? If you're financially not really into reading a P&L and understanding, margins and what the cost of goods are and stuff, work with your local agencies, work with school people here. Go out and find those resources and really teach yourself how to do that, because a lot of people will, figure that they have some profit in something when in reality, Amazon has to mark your product up. So if you've done your market research and the market said they'd pay $20 for that item, Amazon has to sell it for $40 so that they make their share. So now all of a sudden your market research, they probably just up themselves out of your market. Do you see what I mean? I don't mean to get all complex, but it's crazy the game that's played, and it almost always looks different than it is at the very beginning. So, anybody else? Yes, sir.
So, I kind of have a quick idea. I noticed that...
Pitch it.
I noticed that there's people have a common language barrier, so... I don't know. I kind of want to pitch in a seamless translator earbud.
Oh my gosh, that's such a great idea. You mean if you were speaking to me, what is your native language?
So my native language is English, and let's just say your native language.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You're talking
yeah.
to me, and I
So
can hear it.
so we wear one separate earbud. You can. I can speak in the microphone. The microphone will intercept. Will go to a cloud service that
And
recognize your
translate?
languages and translate to the other earpiece.
Okay,
And
do not tell Rosetta Stone that idea, but it's a really great idea.
Yeah,
Can
it-
you imagine if you traveled to a foreign country and you're not the dumb American standing in front of the snooty French people downing you because you didn't say the words
yeah,
right?
like trust me, I spent most of my time living in Western Europe. Trust me, I know the feeling. My
a great
dad was he was in the Marines, so he was stationed in parts of Western Germany. So I spent about 3 years in a German school, and I practiced German, and it was kind of tough to keep up, but
It's a great idea.
product, it could really have a lot of practical uses.
Good. Let me just tell you something. The globe is shrinking, as you know. Everybody is, wants to commingle more. It's not just us and them anymore. And so I think your idea is just brilliant. It's a great idea.
Any last questions? I hope you'll stick around and talk to her afterwards. You'll stay around for a few minutes, right?
Of course.
Thank you so
for
much.
having me. It was
We
my
have this
pleasure. Oh, thank
for
you.